beautiful people, and welcome back to the DVU Sports Podcast. So I'm back here with Hef.
What's going on, everybody?
I just got back from spring break, and it feels good to be back. Kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
He just came back from the Florida weather, so.
Yeah, oh man, I wish I was still there. But, I mean, it's nice weather today, and now that we pushed the clocks ahead an hour, it's not dark at 6 o'clock every night, so that...
It's not as depressing.
Yeah,
very
exactly.
Nice,
I always get depressed when that happens.
Yeah.
5:30 rolls around and just it's dark out and you're like, wow, day's over. Like,
and it's gone.
Yeah.
So tonight we're going to try and get into some Eagles talk. We're going to talk about the trades and some pre-draft stuff. Then make our way into good talk about the Sixers and Okafor being out for the rest of the year. Then talk about the Phillies a little bit and Michael Franco killing the game.
And, also a little bit about this year's NCAA tournament.
Right. Oh yeah.
It's going to be a very interesting tournament. We'll get to that in a little bit, and I'll
talk about how early Villanova is going to be.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Philadelphia teams in the tournament, and I'll see if I can. I'll tell you some of the upsets that I think are going to happen in the tournament. Now, I wouldn't trust me with what I'm saying because, as we all know, anything can happen in the big dance. But I'll tell you my opinions and we'll go from there. So, starting with our Eagles talk, while we were on spring break, they were pretty active in trading players and releasing players. The first thing that happened, I think, overall was D'Amico Ryans being released. So that
Mufasa.
Yeah, so that shows me that they really believe in Jordan Hicks, who was hurt he only played half the year last year because he tore his pec or something like that.
Second game against Dallas.
Yeah, so it's not like that injury doesn't really worry me. I mean, yeah, it's an injury that takes a while to recover from, but it's not like a ACL or an Achilles injury, something like that. So
I'm not really worried about it.
Yeah, so I think he'll come back just as healthy as he was with no problems. And I really liked the guy. I really liked Jordan Hicks, how he played. Was he a rookie last year?
Yep, third-round pick out of Texas.
Texas, that's right. As a rookie, he really he really looked like he knew what he was doing out there. Like he knew everything. He directed traffic a lot, and from a rookie, you don't always see that. So I think with 1 year under his belt, then I think he could potentially do even better next year.
Yeah, I think. Well, and they got rid of. Then they traded Alonzo and Maxwell.
Alonzo and Maxwell.
So now I think it's kind of a question mark on how much depth you actually have at linebacker.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But they did bring in what's his name? Bradham, I think. He used to play for Buffalo under Schwartz.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, jeez. I got to find all those names. But, yeah, they brought in and the other guy they brought in
McLeod?
What's his name?
They get from St. Louis.
Yeah. He hasn't he was 2 years ago he was top 10 cornerback in the league. Mm-hmm. And then he got hurt and he hasn't played in a year and a half, 2 years. But, I mean, might as well...
Oh, McKelvin, you mean?
McKelvin, that's his name. That's his name,
McLeod's a safety.
Yeah, McKelvin, yes. So I like. I mean, they're like. It's not for sure they're gonna work out, but I feel like that all of these kind of under the radar pickups could really help out the defense in a positive way.
And it's low risk, high reward contracts.
Exactly.
It's 2-year deals with $2 million. I think McKelvin's was 2 years, $3 million, something like that.
Yeah. So it's you can't overpay a guy like that coming off injury. But I'm really excited to just see how he does because I think he has the potential to do pretty well. Obviously, he was a great corner 2 years ago. So it's not too common that. Guys like that come back and kill it, but if he could be just a solid player and do his job, I think it's money well spent. So the Maxwell and Alonso trade, we shipped them off to Miami, and in exchange we got their first round pick, which is an 8th round pick. Originally we had the 12th, like we said 2 weeks ago. 13th?
Yeah, 13th.
Sorry.
It's all good.
Thanks for picking me up, Rudy.
Gotcha.
13th pick, and now we have the 8th. So, and I saw a Bleacher Report update. A lot of guys were saying that after the 10th pick in this draft, talent drops off by a major mark. So,
really? I didn't see
that. It was just a little something that came across my phone, and
it is a very strange draft.
Yeah,
like it's
like we were saying.
It's not a lot of skill positions. It's a lot of trench guys.
Yeah, it's not a lot of like super flashy players like we saw in last year's draft of Mariota and Winston. So now that we got rid of Murray, our starting running back,
thank God.
A lot of the mock drafts now, with the 8th overall pick, have the Eagles taking Ezekiel Elliott out of Ohio State. Now, I really like Ezekiel Elliott. I think he's a fantastic running back. But I thought, now this is just me, but I thought in this draft the Eagles were going to gun for a quarterback to maybe sit behind Bradford and then come out in a year or two and hopefully do really well for us. But, I mean, we do need a running back now, and Ezekiel Elliott is by far, well, debatable, but by far, as all the analysts say, the best choice of a running back in the draft. So, I mean, I understand why people are saying that we're going to pick him, but I'm still not sure that we're going to, because 2 weeks ago we were all set on what's his name? Paxton Lynch from Memphis. So, and now that I'm again looking at a mock draft, but now that we're projected to take Ezekiel Elliott 8th, Paxton Lynch dropped all the way down to 25th. So that almost tells me that Paxton Lynch isn't like super sought after. We were just going to pick him to get a quarterback. So I don't know, that raises a lot of question marks to me. But I don't know. If they picked Ezekiel Elliott, I'd be happy with the pick because he's a very talented player. So, and I would be really excited to see what he does.
I think the one guy I really want, and I don't think he's going to fall to us, is Rodney Stanley out of Notre Dame, offensive tackle.
Right.
He's like there's a guy, like if you draft him, like you're outside, like you're solidified at the tackle because you have what's his name, Lane Johnson.
Lane Johnson,
right? And then you could potentially have Jason Peters' replacement at left.
Right.
I'm not sure if he played left or right at Notre Dame, but
he's just well, let's see. He's just listed as an offensive tackle, so he's a big kid too, 6'6", 312.
He's gonna be a beast.
Yeah.
And then either him or Hargraves, the corner from, I think it's Florida or Florida State. Yeah, Florida.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Hargreaves.
Because you can find running backs at like almost any level of the draft, really. So I mean, if they take Elliott, it's like, I mean, all right, but like, ideally, I would love to see him address the O-line again or take another corner. Yeah,
like we mentioned 2 weeks ago on our last show, Derrick Henry fell to the second round. He's projected to go in the second round, so I still don't understand why he did. Yeah, he's not the fastest guy, but I mean, he did win a Heisman Trophy. You gotta give him credit where credit is due. So potentially, maybe the Eagles could pick him up in the second round. I'm not really. Oh wait, do they have a second round?
No.
Yeah. No. Okay. Never mind. They don't have a second round.
Thanks,
pick.
Chip.
Sorry. Yeah. Traded that away. But I mean, if they drafted Ezekiel Elliott, I think him and Ryan Matthews could potentially be and Sproles could be a dangerous 1-2 punch. Because I mean, if we didn't draft him, I don't know if I would be too happy.
I think they're trying to shop Matthews still.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, that came out before they they traded Murray, but like I don't know.
Oh, that's right. I saw that. I saw a report that they're trying to shop Murray or shop Matthews, and then all of a sudden they trade Murray away. I'm like, what? I thought you were trying to trade Matthews, and then all of a sudden pops up on SportsCenter that Murray goes to the Titans. And what did we get for him? I think we swap fourth round picks, and obviously we get a bit of breathing room on our salary cap.
Can I just say how happy I am about the job Howie Roseman has done so far?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, the stuff he's been able to do, like getting rid of Maxwell's contract, getting rid of Murray's contract, and for Maxwell and Alonzo, like you had Maxwell very underperformed last year, and Alonzo was hurt, and you move up in the draft 5 spots,
right?
And like that's just incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just amazing.
The thing that, because we were coming back after we had a doubleheader in Florida, and on the day that Maxwell and Alonzo were traded, we all got on the bus, looked at our phones, we're like, oh, they're about to trade them. And then another report comes in, they're like, oh, Maxwell's in Florida, and the Miami doctors are checking him out, and we don't think he's going to pass their physical. And we're like, Maxwell's going to screw this up, because of his bum shoulder. And then we're patiently waiting, and then an hour later we find that it finally went through. We all breathed a huge sigh of relief.
So pissed.
Yeah. But we dodged a bullet on that one, honestly, because if we couldn't get rid of Maxwell, we would have had to restructure it somehow, and we might have not even been able to get that 8th round pick or first round 8th pick. Jeez.
Isn't it funny how that works though? Like, here was a guy that was brought in last year, and he's supposed to be, he's from the Legion of Boom over in Seattle, and it's like, oh, we finally got our number 1 corner, and now it's like, thank God he's gone.
Yeah. I find it weird that Kurt Coleman, the ex-Eagle, was playing in Seattle, and he's doing good.
He's in Carolina.
Is it Carolina? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's in Seattle from the Eagles?
Kerry Williams.
That's right. That's right. Did he get cut?
He got cut.
Well, originally he was playing
he's
well, I think. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. But Coleman was playing well for the Panthers, I believe. So.
Yeah, he had the second highest interceptions of any defensive back.
Yeah, it's like
7 or 8, I think.
But like we were just saying about Maxwell, he does great in Seattle, comes to Philly and does nothing. And that's not the first time we've seen that happen. So I feel like the way Maxwell played last year, the guys that we brought in, I mean, can't do too much worse than that, honestly.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is, but we always have a knack of bringing in guys who don't fit our scheme. Like Maxwell was is a press guy, and we played him in zone the whole year.
Yeah,
and we did that same thing with Asamoah. I mean, Asamoah was a bum.
Yeah,
but still, and you're not playing to the guy's strength.
Asamoah, great player in Oakland, come over here, everyone's excited, and then nothing.
Yeah. Actually, I just found yesterday. I found the newspaper the day we signed him. It was him. Yeah, Asamoah. It was him, and then I found the one with Colin Jenkins. And who else did we sign that day?
Jeez, I forget.
It was a dream team deal. There was somebody else we brought in that day, and I can't remember. It might have been Vince Young.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Somebody else. Wow.
I don't remember. Yeah. But
that was the big thing, because he was supposed to go to Dallas, and we snatched him. But
and he was, when we brought him in, he was towards the end of his career. So I mean, you could maybe attribute that a little bit to his underperformance. But I mean, he's got to fit the scheme, and again, he didn't. So what else about the Eagles? I mean, again, I don't know why. I mean, it's good to know that the coaches still believe in Bradford, that he could do well, and I think he could perform pretty well as well. But and we also got rid of Sanchez too.
That's right. Yeah,
to the Broncos for. A 7th round
pick, I think.
Yeah, so nothing.
Which is about what he's worth.
Yeah, nothing major there. And then we brought in Chase Daniels from Kansas City. So that makes sense.
I suppose they're gonna have competition between Bradford and Daniels for the starting position.
Well,
which should be interesting.
May the best man win, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, like again, I love the idea of them picking up a quarterback in the draft just to have another guy behind Bradford, because I feel like the man's pretty injury prone because he's so fragile. And then you have Chase Daniels behind him, but then who else after that? You know, so I don't know. I like the idea of them bringing in a young guy and teaching them the system for a solid year or two, because I mean, hopefully Doug Peterson will have a longer reign than Chip Kelly, and we'll be able to establish a positive locker room in Philadelphia for more than 2-3 years. So
yeah.
Well,
I mean, he seems like a very personable guy. I mean,
yeah.
Chip was kind of more.
Yeah, he was not. That's why he's not there anymore.
Good luck, San Fran.
Yeah, sayonara. So, do you have any other thoughts on the Eagles before we get into March Madness?
Nah, not really.
All right. Well, I'll hop right into it. So, this year, obviously, we all know that college basketball has been absolutely insane. A ton of upsets. There's no team that's really dominating anything. There's been, and apparently I don't follow it super closely, but a lot of people or analysts on ESPN were complaining about the seeding this year, and teams who should have gotten in didn't get in. Like the one I could think of off the top of my head was Monmouth, for example. They beat a lot of really good teams, and they didn't get a bid at all, which is unfortunate because I would have loved to watch their bench celebrate a little bit with their crazy three-point celebrations. Like one of my favorite ones is after they hit a three, the one guy on the bench holds up the 3 sign, like we all know, and he's pretending to search for his contacts on the ground, and the other players on the bench are pointing to different spots, and he picks them up and puts them over his eyes. It's hysterical. You'll have to look up the video. It's all over the place on YouTube. But yeah, if you want a solid 5 minutes of entertainment, just look up the Monmouth bench on YouTube, and a lot of stuff will come up. But unfortunately, they aren't in the tournament. So I'll just start you off with who I think is going to win. I believe Michigan State is going to take it this year just because of Denzel Valentine is a very dominant player. Coach Izzo really knows how to win in the big games, and it's not just Valentine. They have a slew of other solid players, but the Kansas Jayhawks also are a very dangerous and experienced team. I have them in the championship along with Michigan State, but I'll jump right into the Philadelphia teams in here. We got Temple, Villanova, and St. Joe's. Now, Temple is playing Iowa. Temple's a 10 seed. Iowa's a 7. I'm sorry to all the Philadelphia fans and Temple fans out there, but I don't think Temple has too much of a chance against Iowa because, Iowa, if you look at Temple's resume, the only significant team that they beat is SMU. Everyone else, they lost to. They lost to Villanova, Carolina, Utah, St. Joe's. They lost to UConn once. They beat them twice. They lost to Wisconsin, and the only other team they beat is Cincinnati. Whereas Iowa took down Michigan State twice. And they beat Purdue twice, and those are 2 solid teams. And they also have Jared Udoff, I believe his name is. He's a very solid player, so I think Iowa's going to take the cake in that game and then beat Villanova in the round of 32. So I'm sorry, Philadelphia, but 2 of your teams are going. 2 of your teams are not making it to the Sweet 16, but I have St. Joe's over Cincinnati. St. Joe's is 8, Cincy's 9. And then I'm not a big fan of the whole hype around Oregon being a number 1 seed. So I have St. Joe's upsetting them.
They're number 1?
Yeah, Oregon's a number 1 seed.
What were they nationally?
Nothing.
I didn't even know they were like a contending basketball.
Either did I until the bracket came out and they're like, "Oh, Oregon number 1 seed." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, I mean, you got in that bracket you have now. I mean, you got Oklahoma, you have Duke, Baylor, and Texas A&M. Those are all now. Obviously, not everyone can get the number 1 seed, but I would think like Oklahoma or someone would.
That's so weird.
I can't remember. I forget if Oregon won their conference. They won the Pac-12, I believe. So, I mean, I understand why they got the number 1 seed, but like Oklahoma, I think is a better team than them. Duke is hit or miss. So I have Oregon out in the round of 32. And that's partially because I don't really believe in them that much. Let's see what else. I'll go into some upsets. I have sorry, I'm on the round of 32. In the round of 64, I have Iona beating Iowa State, partially because I have a grudge with Iowa State. They were highly ranked last year, and I put them in my Final Four last year. And they lost in the first round. So I don't trust them at all. And everyone's saying Iona's a solid team, so I'm taking them. I have Seton Hall upsetting Utah in the round of 32. What else do we have? Pitt is going to beat Wisconsin. And the one game tonight, the playing game, Vandy versus Wichita State. That should be an interesting game because I think Vandy's going to beat Wichita, and then Vandy is going to take down Arizona, who's a 6th seed, and then move on. Vandy's going to move on to play Miami. And even if Wichita wins, I think Wichita's going to beat Arizona. So, other than that, I mean, and I personally like UNC, so I have them going pretty far. I think, do I have them in my Final Four? Yes, I do. But I have them losing to Michigan State. But again, do not trust anything I say because I do not want to be held responsible for you losing money in your brackets. Because by no means am I an expert. I just kind of read articles 2 days before I do the bracket and then do it. So that's what I have for now. That's what I'm sticking with, and there's not too much that's going to change my mind.
That's the way it is.
Yeah. So to all you March Madness goers, good luck. I would say no one, again, is going to fill out a perfect bracket because this year is going to be absolutely insane. Again, I have, in my Final Four, I have 2 number 1s and 2 number 2s. And usually, from past experience, it doesn't pan out that way. But, I mean, I don't know. That's just what I'm going with. So, we'll see how everything goes. So, good luck to all you people who are filling out brackets because you're going to need it. And so am I. So, moving on. Yeah, Godspeed. Moving on to the Sixers, some Sixers news. Unfortunately, our best player, Jahlil Okafor,
Big job,
will be out for the rest of the season with a meniscus tear. Now that does not really worry me because meniscus is not as serious as ACL, and meniscuses are a lot easier to recover from. So I'm not too worried about that. The person I am worried about is Joel Embiid getting healthy. Like I believe we all have been worried about him getting healthy for the last 2 years.
What a guy. What a guy.
Yeah. So, but from everything that I've been hearing, next year could be a lot a lot better than this year. Because, and again, it all depends on our draft picks if all those fall into place. But I mean, we have the European guy coming over, I believe. We have 4 potential first-round picks. And I heard something that the Sixers are going to be active in free agency. Very active in free agency because, I mean, they're not paying too many people very high salaries right now.
Yeah.
Not saying that we're going to get any of these guys, but some of the guys I heard who are free agents are obviously Durant, but they have to pay a lot of money for him, and he probably doesn't want to be in Philadelphia to begin with. The other guy from the Toronto Raptors, DeMar DeRozan, who's a small forward, who is a very solid player. And, Harrison Barnes from the Golden State Warriors, a North Carolina alum. Go Tar Heels. He is also a pretty solid player, and I could see him fitting into Philadelphia because he's not a superstar, but he's a solid player and still rather young, so you could, I wouldn't say build around him, but him alone could boost a lineup just because he's a pretty good player. So, and again, with the draft picks really worry me because the Lakers have to finish, I forget what it is. It's like they have to finish outside of
top three protected. So
they can't finish as the first, second, or third worst team in the NBA. They have to be like the fourth worst in order to get their pick. And it's like the Heat have to stay outside of the 10th worst, and then the Thunder have to be like the 10th best or something inside the 10th best. So to get all those picks, and we get ours obviously. So that worries me a little bit. I don't know, like, what... Because, I mean, we built everything up around, like, this draft, I feel like. And if those picks don't fall in, I feel like it's just going to go to nothing. Like, so, I don't know. But on the positive side, there are a fair amount of solid players coming into the draft that the Sixers could pick up. There's obviously Ben Simmons out of LSU. I'm not sure if Buddy Hield is coming out of Oklahoma, but he's another player. Melo Trimble out of Maryland. He's another solid player. Brandon Ingram, I believe, from Duke. Another solid player, even though just because he's from Duke, I'm not the biggest fan of him. But, I mean, he's a good player. So, I mean, and looking at Jahlil Okafor, I didn't like him when he played in college because he was on Duke. I always rooted against him. But when the Sixers drafted him, I was the happiest kid alive because I knew how good of a player he was. So, I don't know. I think I'm excited for the Eagles draft and the Sixers draft coming up. So
it's going to be a fun spring in Philly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it'll be a little more hopeful for this spring, especially on the baseball field, because I think we'll see a couple of our prospects coming up. And like we said, the Sixers have a lot of spending money in free agency, and I think so do the Eagles now that they got rid of all those contracts.
Yeah.
So, now off the top of my head, I can't really think of many NFL free agents that the Eagles would pick up. But, I mean, so far they've, like we said earlier, they picked up a few potential diamonds in the rough. So, I don't know.
A lot of the big names are off now. Yeah. It's pretty much down to the draft.
Yeah. So
pretty much the only big name that's potentially on the move now could be Kaepernick.
Right.
And that's, I mean, the Eagles aren't even involved in that anymore. Right. So,
and I'm sure Chip Kelly wouldn't be too fond of sending his starting quarterback back to the team that just fired him. So
it'd be funny as hell.
Yeah, that would. And I don't know. I feel like there was talk of the Eagles picking up Kaepernick, and obviously a lot of my friends are Philly fans, so some people were like, yeah, we want him. Some people are like, heck no, like, he's horrible. I feel like you need to give the guy a second chance because he's a tremendous athlete. In high school, he played baseball in high school, and he threw like 92 miles an hour. And I remember the first game he was put in.
Oh, really?
I don't know why, but I was watching the game. They put him in because I think it was after Alex Smith got hurt.
Yeah.
And
he lost his job.
He threw his first pass. I'm like, this guy has a cannon. Like, it was like a 10-yard out route, and he just zipped it right in there. I was like, oh my God, like he's got a cannon. So, like I said, he's a tremendous athlete, and he's still relatively young. So, I think if the Niners don't give him a chance, somebody's got to give him a chance. Because I still think he could win football games for some city out there. If it's not San Francisco, I think it will be someone else. And the other thing I heard was the Jets are looking into RG3.
Really?
And I think they were impressed, quote unquote, impressed with his performance in his workout. So we could see RG3 in New York this year. Because
that would be interesting.
Yeah, because I have all the respect in the world for Ryan Fitzgerald because he's a Harvard guy. Obviously, he's smart. He's got one heck of a beard. When he lets it grow out. And he's a solid quarterback. He almost took the Jets to the playoffs.
One way.
Yeah, almost. And I think with a good quarterback, I think the Jets could be a good team.
Got a good defense.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't really want to talk about the Jets too much because I'm not a big fan. But sorry to all you Jets fans. But
I've seen more Jets games than I have Eagles games. Can
really?
You believe that? Yeah. I went up to a game. It was Jets-Panthers.
Oh, when? Was it a couple of years ago?
It's when they had Panthers still had Jake Delhomme. And it was Mark Sanchez's rookie year.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and actually they won that game, and then that was the run that took him into the AFC Championship game that year. I think they lost to Indy.
Wow. That's when Sanchez was in his prime.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing with Sanchez.
Or might have been Pittsburgh they lost to. I forget who they lost to.
Yeah, I don't know. No. But it was a tremendous run for Sanchez. Now, the thing with Sanchez, he's in Denver. Brock Osweiler went to the Texans, which I think surprised the heck out of everybody.
4 years, $72 million.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I think we mentioned last week how the Texans don't have a quarterback. They have a quarterback now. In Osweiler, who I think could be a solid player just for the sheer fact that he's 6'7".
He can be an above average.
Yeah.
I can't see him being an elite guy. Then again, I didn't think Kirk Cousins was going to play as well as he did last year either.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Kirk Cousins, coming from an Eagles fan, is kind of hyped up. Like, yeah, he played well, but can he keep it up,
Yeah.
So, I don't know about that. But that was a really interesting thing. Like, is Denver actually going to start Sanchez? Or are they going to hope and pray that one of the quarterbacks in the draft fall and they pick him up? Or they'll trade for a draft pick? I don't know. But going from Peyton Manning, who just won you a Super Bowl, to Mark Sanchez, if I was a Denver fan, I would be so depressed right now. Like, you went from probably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, even though he's not in his prime. He still played rather well. Obviously well enough to win them a Super Bowl. But you go to Mark Sanchez, and they lost a couple guys on defense too, I believe. So they're I don't know.
They lost.
I don't know exactly who.
Malik Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
went to Jacksonville. I don't know why anybody would want to sign with Jacksonville.
Jacksonville's stacking up too.
Yeah, I mean they won 5 games.
Yeah, they're just. I think Jacksonville might be good in a few years, and and their uniforms are pretty sharp. So I got to give that to them. And Sheed's on that team, so you never know. He could make a appearance for us. Hopefully, I really hope so. And I think you will. I think you really will. But what else?
We're scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah. Again, next week it'll be a little more interesting. We'll have more March Madness talk for you after all the upsets happen. Oh, and the other two upsets that I think. Sorry, I just had a brain blast, if you will.
A brain blast.
Jimmy Neutron. Throwback to Jimmy Neutron. In the Eastern region, we got Kentucky and Indiana. Indiana's playing. I hate Kentucky too. Hate them. Can't stand them. Can't stand Calipari. Can't stand. Don't like them. But anyway, Indiana plays Chattanooga, and Kentucky plays Stony Brook. Now, just because I am not a fan of Kentucky, neither me or Rudy. I'm hearing Stony Brook is a really solid team, so I'm on the bubble of picking that upset. But again, I feel like Calipari knows how to win games, so I might give him the benefit of the doubt. And I'm also
hearing...
That's
the first tourney too, Stony Brook.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, they're... And I think they have one...
It'd be a cool story.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, yeah, they have... Stony Brook has... the three-time American East Player of the Year, Jameel Warney. So I did hear that they do have one stud, and sometimes in the tournament, all it takes is one stud on the team to carry your team. And that's, I mean, you can look back in the history of the tournament and see that. But that's the thing. Like if one team has just one stud and he's hot that day, you're going to win that game. Like, same thing with now I have Indiana and Kentucky winning, but a lot of people pick either Chattanooga or Stony Brook or both, upsetting Indiana and Kentucky. But Indiana has a guy by the name of Yogi Ferrell, who is a stud as well.
Hey, Yogi.
Yeah, I think Yogi's a sweet name.
Yeah.
So I think in the round of 32, Indiana will take down Kentucky because of Yogi Ferrell. Now, Kentucky has a good 1-2 punch at the guard position in, what are the names? Ulis and Murray. But, I don't know. Again, I think Kentucky is just all hype, and I think Calipari did like some interview and went off about how his ranking was ridiculous, but like, I mean, again, you didn't really beat anybody this year. You lost to Kansas. You beat Duke. Congratulations. The only like really solid team they beat was Texas A&M, and I mean you could say Vanderbilt as well. But I mean, again, nothing special. So they're not going to go very far. But sorry, I'll stay away from tournament talk. I'm just really excited for Wednesday to see how everything plays out. But
yeah, even now, like, I'm not even like a big fan of it, but it's always fun to see. Yeah. Like upsets and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. It's great.
It's cool to see.
I remember the one year Duke lost to Mercer. I don't know. I've never heard of Mercer before. And they're not in the tournament this year, but that was as a fan of UNC, that might have been one of the greatest moments in sports that year. Because I mean, just watching Duke fall to some no-name team was fantastic. And they weren't a number one seed. They might have been a 3-4 seed, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, but it was still like, I mean, Coach K and the Blue Devils fall to Mercer. Like, who's Mercer? But, I mean, and I think a lot of that could happen in this tournament as well. So, again, we'll have a lot more about that for you next week as the games start on Wednesday, and the playing games are tonight. Actually, I think One is already done and one is in progress right now. So see how everything goes. Now, I'm trying to think of anything else that is going on in the Philadelphia sports world. You have anything for us, Rudy?
Not really. No. Big game tonight for the Flyers.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about that.
Yeah. 3 points behind the Red Wings, and potentially could be 1 point behind tonight, or 5 points if they lose. So
that's not good. Now, do you think that the Flyers are going to make? Are they making a playoff push right now, or do you see them in the postseason?
They could. I mean, they were in the same position last year when they played Boston, and they were ahead with like 20 seconds left, and then Boston tied it, and they eventually lost in a shootout, I believe. So, I mean, and then they ended up falling out to like 10 points out by the end of the season. So it's like,
so
it could go either way.
That's the one thing. I mean, I think the order of sporting events I like to go to just because I play baseball, I'd have to say baseball first. But hockey, I'd say by far is number 2 because it's just like it's incredible. Like even if because I went to a game last year and they played the Bruins, and they lost like 3-1, and they were down for most of the game like 2-3-0. But like, and they scored that last goal with like halfway through the third period. But everyone still went like absolutely insane when they scored that goal, and it was great. Like, and you're always on your toes, like waiting for something to happen.
Playoff hockey's the best.
Oh yeah. Now that's why I asked you if they were going to make a playoff push, because I might have to throw up the whatever dollar amount it is to get into the Wells Fargo Center for one of those games, because I mean, you never know when it's going to happen again. So I mean, and I know playoff hockey is absolutely insane. So that's
nothing better.
I mean, I've been to a playoff football game. I went to the Eagles-Packers game
with Vic.
With Vic the year, and they were so close. I'll never forget.
Threw that pick in the end zone.
Yeah, he threw it. I think he scrambled away. He had Riley Cooper, and Riley Cooper had Sam Shields on his back, and then Sam Shields just jumped over Cooper and picked it off. Or no, maybe it was the other way around. Sam Shields was in front of him, and he picked him off. But either way, it was heartbreaking. You could see the emotion just like in the stadium go from 1,000,000 to 0, like completely flat. Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. It just got super silent. You heard a few F-bombs, maybe a beer or two thrown, because there were a whole bunch of drunk people in front of me, and they were cursing out anything and everything like that. But again, the playoff environment was a great environment to be in, and hopefully I want to go to a playoff baseball game, whether it's now New York would be really expensive, so maybe not there. But I mean, if Phillies, no, that's not going to happen for a little while. But still, anyway, I really want to try and make it to a game like that, and especially Flyers, because I feel like those type of things are like not a once in a lifetime, but like you got to seize that opportunity if it comes to your city.
It's on the bucket list.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh, yeah. And hopefully the Sixers too, but those, I don't know. What do you think will happen first? The Phillies making the playoffs or the Sixers making the playoffs?
Oh man, that's such a tough one. I'll say the Phillies.
Phillies, yeah.
It's because I feel like they have more pieces.
Yeah, I could see that too, because I mean, in their division, you have the Mets, who are, I mean, good team, but all they are is pitching. Nationals, they always end up choking, no matter what. No, literally, no matter what. The Marlins are awful. The only player they have, I mean, I shouldn't say that. They do have a lot of good pieces, but
Stanton, right?
Yeah, Stanton. They have D. Gordon, Jose Fernandez, and a few other names escape me, but they have more than that. But like, they're nowhere near close to being a championship caliber team. So I feel like in 2 years, the Phillies could bring up all those guys that we talked about that are in their farm system and really shake up that league. So, and again, I obviously don't like the Mets at all. So I honestly, it sounds really stupid, but I feel like last year them getting to the playoffs was kind of almost a fluke, if you will. Like, yeah, their pitching is unbelievable. I gotta give them that. It is absolutely unbelievable. Their starting rotation and their bullpen is beefing up too, but I just don't see the offense there. They lost Daniel Murphy. They did get Cespedes back, but they got Neil Walker and Asdrubal Cabrera. But I mean, Neil Walker will provide more offense than Cabrera, but still, like, I don't think it'd be enough to do what they did last year.
Yeah.
And there are too many good teams to ruin those chances. So, but other than that, we're just hoping for some playoff game in Philadelphia's near future. And even, that was the other thing I was trying to get. I think this year they're holding the Eastern, for the NCAA tournament, they're holding the Eastern Regional Finals at Wells Fargo. So that means, it's not round of 64. It might be the round of 32. I'm not sure. But they're holding tournament games at the Wells Fargo Center this year. So, and it's on a Sunday, I believe. It might be, it's not this Sunday. It might be the following Sunday. I'm not sure. But that, if, like, could you imagine, like, a Villanova or a Temple or a St. Joe's getting a bid like that, making it all the way there, and then playing in Wells Fargo? That crazy. Place would be absolutely insane, and I don't think I'd be able to get tickets for that. Because I looked up, out of every year I look up if the round of 64 is in Wells Fargo, just to go. Because I think if you buy a ticket for that, you could see like 3 or 4 games in a day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I always try and look at that. So this year I saw the Eastern Regionals are there, but like nosebleed seats are going for like $150 a piece. And I'm just like, ugh. Now that was I think I looked it up when we were on winter break, so that was a while ago. But usually, I mean, sometimes on StubHub they go down as it gets closer, but I feel like for something like this, it'll just get more expensive. So
most likely,
I don't know. I'm just gonna cross my fingers, maybe look a few more times, but if not, oh well. So we're hoping for some kind of playoff atmosphere in Philadelphia soon. So
it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a very long time. So hopefully our Flyers can bring that to us. I think that's the closest thing we have right now. But other than that, do you have anything else, Rudy?
No. Might have to postpone it until next week.
Yeah, see. Again, we'll have more things about the Phillies, hopefully more about the Eagles, probably not too much about the Sixers, a lot about the tournament. As of right now, I think we'll be signing off for tonight.
Alrighty, folks. We'll see you next week.
Thanks again for tuning in.
Chef Kerr!